But I don't know. I'm curious what's going to happen, because if they don't have a lot of people running, that Marianne, I don't know anything about her, but I like her better than both of those. I like her better than Biden, and I like her better than RFK. So I don't know. It says here, with his just declared bid for the U.S. presidency, RFK sees himself as a forefront of the new revolution to resurrect American democracy. But the anti-vaccine crusader will likely have his work cut out for him in convincing Democrats and even members of his own family to vote for him. I just don't know what to... I would have thought that the Democrats... I mean, because the Kennedy family was such a stronghold in the 60s
Right.
and 70s. Even in the 80s, they had a lot of power. And to think that their own family...
Well, things have changed over the years. So if he's trying to go back and bring back what they did in the 60s...
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what to think about the whole thing. I think it's really bizarre to think that... I mean, his own family. It says here, RFK filed paperwork. It says here he plans to formally announce his bid to take on President Biden. It comes down to, do you vote for the devil you know or the devil you don't know?
Right.
I don't know who, I don't know anything about what he's done as far as, I mean, other than anti-vax and stuff, what his platforms are, but I would say just about anybody's better than Biden, but I'm not sure about that now, because I don't know enough about him. So that definitely sets a precedent there. So better than molesting kids. Keep your eyes open for RFK. So we'll see what he ends up doing, and he's not the Dalai Lama, you know. Oh, yeah. All right, next. Oh, the next one you sent me, it was about the...
You said Dusty Rhodes.
Yes. Okay, I'll talk about him next. Okay, so the Dusty Rhodes documentary was this Sunday on A&E, I think it was. It was really, really good. It had Dusty on it from when he was in the beginning
Right.
to pretty much up to his death. It had his first wife and his second wife. It had all of his children from his first marriage and his second marriage. And a lot with Cody and a lot with Dustin.
Okay.
Now, Dustin is not with WWE. So it was interesting how much Dustin was on there. But that shows something really cool. It shows that they're willing to present the facts
Right.
as they are. And Dustin, oh man, he cried at the end, and I felt bad for him. I was like going to cry with him, because I understand losing someone that meant that much to you and that you didn't necessarily get along with for a couple years. Like, if you remember, we had Terry Runnels on the show.
Yes.
She talked about that Dustin hadn't talked to his dad in several years.
Yep.
And Dustin talked about that. And I was like, wow, this is like deja vu, because we lived it. We called him. We talked to... I mean, he wouldn't come on the show, but
Right.
she did. And I lost that interview because the recorder didn't work that day, if you remember. I'm the only one that interviewed her, and I don't have any proof that I interviewed her. It sucks.
I remember that interview.
Well, yeah, you and I and anybody that listened that night, but I don't have the archive of it. I don't have the archives of pretty much anything anymore, but it was a great documentary. It was probably, man, he was my hero from the 70s. I loved him so much, because he showed that you can make it without having the bodybuilding.
Right.
And they talked about that a lot. And they talked about him breaking away from Dick Murdoch. They talked about, all the things that, like, I loved Dusty Rhodes up until the day he died. And they talked about the polka dots too, because I always said it was they were pranking him. They made him do that, and he always said no, he didn't. He did that willingly, and he was fine with it. But there were people that to this day will say they did that to prank him and made him Because, oh, okay, so one of the things that I found interesting that I didn't realize, when Vince Jr. took over the company, he made Dusty the offer to be the Hulk Hogan role.
Oh.
And Dusty turned him down
Wow.
and went to WCW. Or went to NWA at that time.
Right.
I didn't know that. And that's why people say that when he came to the WWE and they made him wear the polka dots, that they were doing it for revenge because he didn't take that role. Man, could you imagine turning down the Hulk Hogan spot? I mean, not that Hogan didn't know that that was going to turn into what it did. Nobody knew it was going to turn into what it did. But if Dusty had been in that role, what would it have been then? It would have been a whole different
Yeah.
thing. It still could have played out the same way where he could have been as big as Hogan,
But would he, because he didn't have the body that Hogan did?
but everyone loved him. And that's the thing, people loved him because he was the common man.
Yeah.
He was the son of a plumber. He was everything that, he could have taken on the Sheik and became the common man and beat the Sheik. And he could have had a run like that because he
beat the Sheik out of him.
He could have beat the Sheik out of him. They're going to do one on the Sheik too. That I'm looking forward to.
Oh, yeah, maybe you'll see Sheik Zabala in there again.
I think those guys don't talk anymore.
Oh, okay.
But he would make an appearance. Anyway, it was just, I really thought that was the best one, the best one I've seen so far. And they're putting a lot of time and effort in those, and they don't mind interviewing people that aren't with their company, which is, to me, is really important because you get to see the whole story.
Right.
And they said a lot of good and bad things. They talked about, there wasn't much bad to talk about Dusty other than he wasn't home for his kids. With Dustin and
When
his
you're
first
wrestling,
daughter.
you're pretty much not.
Well, that's the thing he had mentioned is when he had his first wife, Dustin and the first daughter didn't ever see his dad. And that's one of the problems Dustin had when he was growing up, because then Dustin wanted to be a wrestler, and Dusty kept trying to say, no, you don't want to do that. And Dustin did it anyway. And they just, the problems evolved because, Dustin had a lot of issues about his dad not. Oh, by the way, Dusty Rhodes' real name is, do you know it?
Virgil.
And his last name?
That one I'm not.
Runnels.
Runnels.
But do you know what his middle name was?
No.
Riley.
Oh.
Virgil Riley Runnels. That's like a mouthful.
Yeah.
Virgil Riley Runnels. I can't even say it. Virgil Riley Runnels. But anyway, I thought it was interesting.
Especially when you're mad. Virgin. Yeah, Virgin.
Well, Virgil is that's a horrible name anyway. But Riley's a cool name.
Oh, yeah.
Riley's probably one.
Virgil Riley Runnels
Yeah, but
Jr.
Girls are named Riley now.
Yeah.
It's stupid. Shouldn't be. Women should not be named Riley.
Why?
It just shouldn't happen.
My friend's name's Riley.
Tell her to change it.
No.
Well, what was that one, the Hillary that we were talking
And
about?
Hillary. Yeah, geez, guy should not be named Hillary. See, just name her Hillary. My sister knows why I'm saying that.
What character's
And
coming?
you know why I'm saying that too, right?
Yep.
Okay, just checking. So, just for the record, do not name your kids, your girl kids, your female kids, Riley. That's under the command of me. Riley's a special name. It should be only to certain people.
Okay.
They should be male.
Okay.
Anyway, next. Oh, okay. So next, the Grinch 2.
Yes. Oh, I can't wait.
Oh, okay.
You never knew that.
No.
Wow.
Very few people know that. So, She's going to post it on Facebook now. Here's
Yeah.
what Mike Trash's middle name is.
Ruckus.
It's
But my friends is spelled different.
It doesn't make any difference. It's the same name. You could spell Riley GRX, and it's still not.
I'm sorry, that's a word in Trashies I didn't know.
Grix. I don't know.
Gurks.
I just picked that out. Anyway, Grinch 2. I saw this from you, but I also saw
Yes.
that someone in Facebook says, I'll believe it when I see it.
I can't wait.
I believe that, they didn't believe that Jim Carrey was going to do it. And so I did a search to find out, is it real? And it is a real thing. It's It's really happening. Grinch 2. Now, I hope it's as good as Grinch 1.
It better be if Jim Carrey's in it.
It's going to be tough, though.
Yeah.
I mean, he did such a good job on that. I would have thought, if you had asked me before this came out, should they redo The Grinch, I would have said absolutely not. But after seeing it, I'm like, wow, they took this 20-minute show and turned it into 2 hours. And it was interesting. And I've seen it I don't know how many times, and I would go to see it again because I love that. But Grinch 2 is going to be out apparently is it this year?
I thought it was.
Let's see what it says. Will there be a Grinch 2? Says here, the sequel entitled How the Grinch Lost Christmas is based on a newly discovered manuscript by Dr. Seuss. Wow. So there was a sequel that actually was written by Dr. Seuss. Is there a new Grinch coming out on 2023? It says fall 2023. How the Grinch Stole Christmas.
This fall, yay.
Well, what was the movie called before?
Grinch.
Wasn't it How the Grinch Stole Christmas?
Christmas, yeah.
Well, this is saying that the movie How the Grinch Lost Christmas. Okay, so instead of Stole Christmas, it's Lost Christmas. I'm happy about that. I want to see it. Even though he's a whacked out person, that made that role work.
Oh,
And
yeah.
That was awesome. And
He has the ability to act like that, and that just
Right.
shows how good he really is.
but you talk to Jerry Lawler when he played Jim Carrey. When Jim Carrey played Andy Kaufman,
Yeah.
he played it the way he thought it should have been, and it wasn't anything like
Wow.
Kaufman.
Okay.
By the way, Andy Kaufman was inducted in the Hall of Fame, the Wrestling Hall of Fame, which was really interesting. So I found that really interesting because he died obviously before he got into the Hall of Fame, but a lot of people were upset that he got in the Hall of Fame. I think he deserves it because there's no one. Jerry Lawler was working for his own promotion at that time. He was not working for WWE or WWF at the time. He was not working for WCW or NWA. He was working for a small promotion in Memphis, Tennessee. and Jerry Lawler became a household name because of his appearance on David Letterman, where they slapped each other. And that was not the way it was supposed to go. They talked about it in the locker room, and Jerry's like, "No, I don't think we should do that because we could be kicked off the TV, and they may never show it." And so it was interesting that when it happened on stage, that was not planned. They went off script because Lawler wanted to stay on script, but he saw that he was pushing the envelope, that Kaufman was pushing the envelope, and he pushed it a little bit further. And if they had not done that, the wrestling world would not be what it is today.
Wow.
Because that launched the wrestling world into somewhere that it would have never been generically. It got so much mainstream publicity because it was done not in a wrestling ring. It was done on TV on a talk show. If you've never seen that clip,
I don't think I have.
oh, you got to watch that clip. That clip will throw you for a loop because it was probably what made David Letterman go to the top of the ratings too. because it was so unexpected by everybody, and nobody would have expected that. Like, he never had wrestlers on because he didn't really he didn't follow wrestling in that. Yeah,
This one?
yes, that is just, you got to see the whole clip. It's just, I can tell you, I watched that clip live, and when it happened, I didn't know if it was real or not.
Wow.
It looked so real. And it wasn't planned to happen that way. It just fell into place, and everybody did what they were supposed to do, and it was crazy. It was crazy, and it made me love Letterman even more because it was on the air. So, did you see it? Did you see the clip? No? You ought to watch it. It's really cool watching it because it all steamed into something that would have. It was David Letterman with Andy Kaufman and Jerry Lawler. And they were, Jerry Lawler and Kaufman had this little, okay, so the feud was like this. Lawler had a small promotion in Tennessee, and it had weekly shows, and it did okay for an independent. And back then they had independents. You didn't have the WWE being so big, and you didn't have, like, NWA was the big promotion, but it was consisting of small independent guys that worked together to have one champion, and the champion would go to all the promotions. And so everybody won. The champion would be making decent money because he's going to all the promotions, and it would recognize one champion. So what happened was Kaufman showed up one day, and he's a celebrity from Taxi,
Right.
and he said, "I'm here to challenge you in in Nashville, Tennessee, and I'm going to take on the women of wrestling," because he was a small guy. He wouldn't be a heavyweight wrestler, and he started wrestling women, and he would beat them all, legitimately beating them because he's a big guy and he's a bigger guy than the women, and he would pin them all. Well, Jerry says, "Well, why don't you step up and take me?" And they had this little feud going. It was Jerry Lawler became the face, the good guy, and Kaufman became the bad guy because he came from Los Angeles, California, or went to Hollywood, California. He's a big Hollywood star, and he got so much attention because he was legitimately a big Hollywood star, and he was coming to this little dinky town in Nashville, Tennessee, and he was starting trouble. And he got all these checks. They paid him for everything he did. So everything he did, he legitimately was wrestling stuff, and Lawler behind the scenes taught him how to wrestle and taught him what to do and made it look believable. So one time the end of the match was he had to take a pile driver, and he laid down in the ring, and he said, and Lawler's like, it said to the referee, "Tell him he can get up now and he can leave now." And so the ref went over and said, "Okay, you can leave now." And he goes, "No, I want an ambulance." And he went back and said, "He says he wants an ambulance." And he goes, "Well, tell him he can't have an ambulance. That costs $1,200. And he goes, "You can't have an ambulance. It's going to cost $1,200. So then Kaufman says, "It doesn't matter. I'll pay for it." So he paid for an ambulance to take him to the hospital, and he paid for 4 days in the hospital for his broken neck that he didn't have because he wanted to make it look legit. And so through all this whole thing where he was building up this promotion, it built up the promotion to this huge promotion that they were all making good money. Well, when Kaufman died, his parents called Jerry and said, "Hey, we want to know what you want to do with this. Every check you wrote out to him, he never cashed."
Wow.
He didn't do it for the money. He did it for the
Entertainment.
He did it for the same reason I do wrestling.
Yeah.
He did it because he wanted to be part of it.
Right.
He wanted, I never did wrestling for money. There's no money in the independents.
Right.
And especially for a manager, you can't make any money. But you can actually have fun. You can actually enjoy what the lifestyle is. And I certainly did. I got no one that could have no one could have done what I have done and got paid to do what I've done, and did as many matches in as many states,
Right.
Yep.
because
I enjoyed going with you and Mom. And
it was
stuff.
awesome. I mean, even when we went to Georgia, I ended up putting money out of pocket.
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted to do it. I wanted to know what it was like to be
Yep.
on the road. I did 12 years of my life traveling weekend after weekend after weekend.
Yep.
And it was some of the best times, some of the worst times, some of the best times of my life.
I
So,
remember coming down with Mom and, oh, Mom, what show are we going to this weekend?
Yep.
What show are we going to this weekend? Where are we going this weekend?
And it was, okay, who's in that picture and when was this match and where are we going? And
it was some of the best.
and looking at Mom, okay, who do I root for? Who do I not?
She always started trouble. Like she did this last time. She was telling people to yell, "Take out the trash." I haven't heard that in so many years. It was, and that was the first time Christine had really seen me in action. She saw me in Harrisburg, but we didn't do a whole lot there. But she actually saw me take a bump and took me, and she saw me help that girl that was choking on the ropes.
oh, yeah, uh-huh.
I would have thought that she would have treated me better after I saved her life. She was choking on the rope. But it's just, I always wonder, because my dad took me into, he used to take me to matches, and I used to love matches. And I used to go to the Zembo Mosque, and that's where I saw Andre the Giant. And it was like, I always wanted to do it, and I just thought, oh, this would be great. And my dad told me, you know which matches are fixed. The championship matches are all real, but anyone that isn't a championship match, that's an exhibition. It's not a real match. And he would have loved to see what I've done, because the stuff I did. I mean, he was always into the good guys, but I could see him watching
Yeah, I
me.
think it was every match that you were in. Mom's like, do whatever you can to root against Mike. I was like, all right, got it.
It was a lot of fun. It was, I can't tell you. There was a lot of stuff that I had to. I mean,
damn
it was
bees.
it was awesome. It just was. I can't tell you. I never would have imagined getting to do it, and a lot of the stuff that I've done. Be a musician for as long as I have. I could actually retire from music knowing that I've actually done just about everything I wanted to do, except that,
Right.
make a lot of money. I didn't make a lot of money at it, and I didn't tour the way I wanted to, but I got to write my own music, got to play my own music.
You got to play at Grange Fair.
Yeah. Well, I won't talk about that too much, but it was a good place to play. We, the things I had the chance to do, I would have
Right.
never got to do if I
Except for
didn't.
breaking down on the way there.
Yeah, well, I got us there. I got us there. I didn't think I was going to. I thought I was going to have to cancel it, but we got there with 5 minutes to spare.
And thanks to me also knowing the way for living up there and knowing which
That
to
helps.
go. Because they didn't have a GPS anymore.
It was scary, but
How do I go? Turn here, turn here.
it was. But if I had been just a regular person with a 9-to-5 job, going in and out of that all my life, I would have never had to do that. I never would have had a chance to do that.
And Mom kept saying, what's going on now? What's going on now?
Where are you?
Where are you? How
Believe
far
me.
away?
Believe me, that
It's
little
getting close.
little-
Mom, I know. Calm down.
that little car that we got goes very fast if you put it into the right speed. But it was a lot of fun, and I would have never had a chance to do that. And through my work, I would have never gone to a nice place to stay either.
Yeah.
And that's the first, and I never would have eaten some of the places I've eaten at, and I've never would have, places that I would go to now. I would have never done that because I was a cheap person. I was always afraid of being. my biggest fear in life was dying penniless and not having a place to live
Right.
and living in my van again. That was my biggest fear. And
And it's funny that you talk about that because one of my coworkers and I, we were talking today about it, and like some of the perks that we have.
I don't do
And
that.
she got loud ears.
and they couldn't believe that as a temp, they're offered the same perks. And she's like, wow, she says, and how long did it, she asked me how long it took me to go permanent. And I told her, and she's like, man, I could see me doing this. And I'm like, yep, you're treated just like one of us.
Yeah.
So, I
Think about, I mean, I've said this to a couple people, and I may have even said it on the air. But think about it if I was dating, and I went to the girl and I said, what she would ask me, what do you do for a living? And I'd say, well, I work for a living, but, if they ask me now, let's say someone asked me now, and I said, well, I have a talk show. It's been on since 2003.
Mm-hmm.
And also, I'm a musician. Oh, you're a musician? Been playing since 40 plus years. Have an album out. And I've been playing in some of the bands, and I've telling them what I've been playing and stuff. Oh, that's really cool. That sounds like you were busy. Oh, no, and more. And started wrestling when I was 40. What? Yeah, I wrestled for 12 years. What? Who do you know? Have you ever... oh, yeah, on the wrestling show? Yeah, we had Hulk Hogan on the show twice. What? I had, all these...
especially if they knew who the wrestlers were.
Well, everyone knows who Hogan is.
Yeah, well,
I mean,
yeah.
that's a,
Who?
Yeah. When they said, they always go, well, I always liked Bret Hart. Oh, yeah, he's a good guy. I talked to him for 3 hours on the radio show. And, then they start saying, oh, really? What else did you do? I'm sure that's all you've done. That, oh, well, I'm also an actor and a script writer. What? I have,
Yep.
in fact, one of the songs we wrote has 23 awards. Oh, what? Then you tell them, oh, yeah, and the script I wrote has 19 awards. What?
Oh, that's just online. That's not real.
And you got to think by now the person's saying, okay, this guy's BSing me. There's no way anybody did all this stuff. But it's funny because the people that know me know that I have truly done this stuff.
Yep.
And
I've been along for the ride.
for a lot of it, yeah.
Yep.
You have been. But sometimes I still have to pinch myself to see if I really did do all this stuff, because if I didn't have, that's what I could do.
Do not look behind the curtain.
Wait a minute, where did I put it?
Doesn't look behind the scene.
Oh, here it is. Did you see this? Did I show you this?
Yeah,
yet?
yeah.
You saw this?
Uh-huh.
I want to show this to some people. This is like
Memories
some
from
of
the
my
past.
memories from the past. Yes, I'm just going
My
to show you.
gosh, these are your memories.
So if you see in the very, very beginning of the show, I'm not in the page. Oh, yeah, I am. Okay, I keep forgetting this is this page is. Hold on here. We need our cursor so we can see where we are. So it looks like your picture is okay. So there's the that was on the trailer in the beginning, the Gasm trailer.